So Brian's going to call Rick and have Rick come up, and then during new business, we could ask him.
We're going to convene Committee of the Whole. Jack Wise and Jean Knudsen are excused today. We don't have very many items in front of us, actually none, just approval in old and new business. And we also have no executive session today. So we'll go right to the approval of the minutes for committee on April 13th.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion in front of us. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And next, we'll go to old and new business. Does anyone have anything for old or new business? Mayor Kelly.
Last week, we talked about a letter to Maria Cantwell, and Brian has some things to hand out. It was going to be something that Jean and I signed. Jean's not here. I don't know if it's urgent to sign it before he gets back, or we can change the letter and Speaker or Mayor Pro Tem can sign. So Brian, do you want to talk about what's in there?
Brian Heinrich, Mayor's Office. Sorry about this. Hold on one sec. The mayor's correct. It's not critical that this happened today. It could certainly wait until May 4th. However, my only caution would be that it's anticipated that in May, Department of Transportation will release its standards on the rail tank cars, the DOT 111s primarily, as a host of other considerations. But as we discussed last council meeting, this was really to lend support. I think most of you ideally have seen Senator Cantwell's proposed legislation related to crude by rail transport. There's a number of items. I do have, and I'm sorry I left it at my station over there. I have a one-pager I'd be happy to hand out at the conclusion of these comments. But it's a pretty expansive approach to the issue. I believe, if I understand the senator's position correctly, is that there is some frustration with how long it's taken Department of Transportation to respond to the requests to have a standard. I think this frustration has been borne out not only by local jurisdictions but by industry as well. We're looking for a standard that they can meet and begin to address. If you're speaking just solely of the rail cars, I want to say there's approximately 100,000 in use today, so it's a massive undertaking. But this letter was designed to lend support from both the mayor and the council for the senator's efforts as this legislation moves through the process at the federal level.
Michael?
Well, I know Jean's not here, but I would actually have no problem with us approving this letter. It's very much in line with a resolution the City Council has already written. It's not a change in course for us at all. It's part of the message the mayor has been delivering to officials already. I just read through it, and it says things we've said before. So, I'd like to hear what you folks have to say, but I think it's a good letter, and we could just change it to Council President Pro Tem and send it.
And if you would like to, thank you, Michael, I'd just offer that if you'd like to give it some time to read the information that's handed out, it's something we could approve tonight. Make that change. It could certainly go off tomorrow with Pinky's signature.
Is everyone comfortable with that? Mm-hmm. All right, so we'll bring it forward tonight, and if we can have approval, then we'll get it off as soon as possible.
Great, thank you.
Council member.
Just a question regarding notification to local jurisdictions, fire departments. How do they know what's in the car, and how do they then respond if there's a rollover or a spill or a fire? How would they know how to use the proper tools to affect that?
Well, when I went down to Mount Vernon to listen to the presentation, and Brian, you can jump in here, there's a training offered and our firefighters, our emergency responders, are being trained so that they know what to do. One of the concerns that got raised for us was, of course, we always want to know what's in the cars, but the truth is, we're going to be prepared to address it regardless if it's, what do you do if it's a chlorine leak? What do you do if it's a natural gas leak? What do you do if it's an oil leak? What do you do if it's a coal car? All those kind of things. That's part of what the training is. So the truth is, we will probably get some notification if that's part of the legislation, which is what we're asking for, that we know, because now we don't always have to know. But we're going to be prepared to respond based on the conditions that exist when we have a rollover, a spill, whatever it is. So I think that's why it's important to send a letter. It's because we'd like to know. And in general, there's the balance between creating a target and being safe. And so there's some concern about making sure that the emergency responders know, or potentially the elected officials, but not necessarily having it be a real broad announcement. So that's part of the debate they're having back in Congress.
Thank you.
Maybe just two quick points to that. And I apologize, you can't see this very well up on the screen, but there's a required disclosure piece of the legislation that requires railroads and shippers to disclose. In this case, it's crude by rail movements along the hazardous material rail routes. And then there's also, I think the one thing that is very appealing for us as a local jurisdiction is the establishment of response plans for spills. And that's a point that we've hit upon as a city that we're very interested in, and our first responders are very interested in. There's elements of that will be in the state legislative bill as that moves forward as well, which is similar in nature. But so we know that this is happening both at the federal level and at the state legislative level.
If I could just add one more thing. The interesting thing I found at the meeting was that there's right now, if there is a spill or an accident, sometimes they have to bring the containment materials and the cleanup materials from far away. And what they're asking for is regular deposits of the materials along the rail so that you can get a quicker response. And that's something that our first responders in our community are really interested in.
Any other questions? Councilmember Murphy?
Well, over the weekend, I had a chance to attend a Stop the TPP and Fast Track rally, and this was a good mix of union leaders and environmentalists. And I bring this up here because everyone who attended uniquely appreciated that the Bellingham City Council has already passed a resolution voicing our concerns about the TPP and the Fast Track. So I just wanted to thank the council for that.
Any other questions on this? Thank you, Mayor Kelly. Thank you, Brian. And we'll bring this forward tonight. Anyone else? Anything in order? Oh, I'd like to give our planning director, Rick Sepler, a moment to discuss the meeting on Thursday.
Yes, thank you. To update you, this Thursday's joint meeting is an update on the comprehensive planning process to date. It will frame the issues that have been identified through the public process so far, and it will provide an introduction to the discussion of population and UJ boundaries. Hence, it was a good reason to get both bodies together, since it's the basics for subsequent discussion to be evaluated. No decision will be made this Thursday, no alternatives will be presented, and no staff recommendations. So it's mostly just background and setup so that in subsequent meetings we're all on the same page in terms of the issues that have been identified and the analysis that's been done to date, and also specifically what's on the plate for us to address.
Now, was Thursday already a scheduled planning commission meeting? Is that why it was set then?
It was. It happened to be for our sequence of meetings. We have 3 in a row. So we have this week to frame the issue, next week to begin discussion, and tentatively reserve the following week for a potential public hearing on a recommendation to this body. The reason for that is we're moving closer to June, and our goal is to have a recommendation to council and your decision by the end of June, early July. That's what we had agreed on with the county, just on population number and UGA, a final decision.
Okay, because Roxanne and I weren't asked if we could make that meeting. We didn't know it was coming up.
I'm sorry.
So I'm just wondering how it was set with when we weren't asked about whether we'd be available. I think I can
No,
make
I think there's a, we've been,
but we haven't been. Usually we're consulted about, will these dates work? And,
sure.
and
Well, there are two
neither
issues.
of us knew about it.
There are two issues I might respond.
Yeah.
We've been meeting with council members, just giving background materials in advance of this and other meetings to frame issues. Again, we're not, and we have been trying to schedule meetings, I think, with both of you individually, just to answer your questions about process, bring you up to date on the work we've done. Similarly, I think you'll see it more totality when we're at the Planning Commission, and also be able to have discussion, but we wanted to make sure council members who were not on the Planning Committee or others who had questions had a chance to meet with staff beforehand, just to get their questions on process answered.
So I got to get this meeting this Thursday. Are we having joint meetings 3 weeks in a row or just this one?
Just this one.
Okay. And that's at 6
intent was
o'clock or
just-
6:30?
It was at, I believe it's 7 o'clock.
Oh, 7 o'clock.
And I apologize for any confusion on this.
Okay.
We've had it scheduled for a number of weeks now, but I'll double check.
Yeah.
And Marie, maybe we can add that to the announcement and upcoming meetings for tonight when we talk about the meetings that are coming up.
We did bring this up to council at your, I think, 2 meetings ago, and that's when Councilmember Weiss suggested it be a joint meeting.
Well, I remember he brought up about the possibility of having one, but we didn't
never
make,
got outreach
nothing was decided that, he just brought it up that we've had them in the past, so maybe we could have one in the future, but nothing was set up about, at that time, to actually have one, just that he brought up the possibility.
Okay.
I just want to say, I would just love
It's
to have
okay.
love to have had an invitation to that, because it's something that I would just love to attend and listen to. So anything in the future that relates to this,
Absolutely.
please let me know about it.
So moving forward, we'll just, any kind of joint meetings or anything, we'll just notify all of the council and they can decide whether they would like to attend. Does that work for everybody? Okay. Anything else? Old or new business? Anyone else? No? Nothing for good of the order. We will reconvene tonight at 7 p.m. for City Council, and meeting is adjourned.